Hello, I'm Sora Luxon, and this is Tarot card 5 of Wands, the Lord of Strife. Or, in less traditional terms, the Frenemies card, right? Where frenemies help us to succeed, right? As we struggle against them. 5 of Wands depicts Saturn in Leo from the 1st to 10th degrees. We see 5 individuals testing themselves and each other. Notice how 4 of the staves, the wands being lifted, are crossed, while 1 remains freely held high. Each sign has 3 phases of 10 degrees. The wand held upright without crossing the other 4 is being held by the only individual wearing 2 different colored shoes. Now, this is going to be shown in different ways on different decks or within different cards of a deck. Sometimes on this card, on the 5 of Wands, you'll see actually Leo in some way symbolized within that freely held wand. It's the symbol of the decanate of this card. As we watch strife and struggle contesting against itself, we are advised not only of people coming together jointly to attempt the completion of a task, such as in brainstorming, right? Where it's not cooperative, but it's people coming together and kind of rubbing up against each other in order to get to a higher idea. That nearly debate-like argument of options or opinions that can sometimes precede solution and resolution, but also in this very energetic, almost violent attempt to raise their staves, to raise their wands as one, we're being shown contest in action. Upright, that contest, that struggle is boldly free, even recklessly free. This is Gabora of Yod. The royal star of Leo, it impassions, right? It inflames. And it's easy to see that passions rise high here. This could be a contest of wills or verbal sparring, like in a debate of some kind. It could be you interacting with others in very vigorous argumentation, perhaps discussing what next actions to take on a joint project or venture. Really kicking the tires hard, right? Maybe to even where you cause a little bit of damage before proceeding forward. This is a competitive card, so you have to keep that in mind. The answers being sought are being sought within conflict or creating conflict in the moment. Conflict is being purposefully engaged in here. It tests the limits, right? Conflict can test the limits of yourself, those around you, or maybe of your ideas, until one succeeds, rises to the top as champion out of this competition, proving itself better than the others. Obstacles and possible flawed scenarios are definitely being confronted here. You are challenging yourself to be better. The strength of the walls around, those things that have always been in place, right? That is being tested here. The game is on. May the best, most worthy outcome win. That is the 5 of Wands upright. Also, this is a card of useful quarrels, right? Useful spats or fights, the necessary arguments and fights. And that isn't necessarily negative in nature. Struggle often reveals potential, or it forces us to achieve what we otherwise might not have. Much can be learned from this card, and so it is favored among more informed tarot readers for its evolution and its exciting new properties, right? Those cards that allow us to evolve. We love those cards. We embrace them, and this is one of them. A card that pushes at preconceived boundaries and spurs us to adapt and excel. Here we have the intriguing, amicable adversaries of our lives as well, right? Those people that motivate us into action. Frenemies, individuals who push us, sometimes entirely unknowingly, right, in their competitiveness to be better ourselves. Friendly but somewhat combative relationships that we have in our lives. That is shown on this card. So what to do if you draw the 5 of Wands upright? Well, stand up and fight back. Not necessarily in a negative or harmful way, but you know what you believe in here, or you know what you want to have happen, right? So get on it, stick up for what you believe, face that wall or obstacle and struggle to climb it. Engage in that process, in the passions that are driving you, those passions that allow you to have the energy to combat and press forward and succeed. There is a competition here. Do not shy from it. Competition is very often a healthy way to make us better or to make our ideas better. Embrace being competitive and seek to win. There's nothing wrong with that. Do not stand back and do not back down. Fight back, argue your point, debate how your idea is the best, push your goal, your aim forward. If there are problems, confront them and keep on keeping on, right? Sometimes it's supposed to be a struggle. Sometimes it's supposed to be a battle or a bit of a fight. It can make us stronger to struggle through things. So respect and hear the perspectives of others, right? Respect your worthy opponents, your competitors, those that bring opposition to your own game so that you can improve your game. But don't be swayed. Do not be cowed by them and fight on. Crawl through the mud if you have to, and be willing to get your hands dirty while defending yourself and being on the offensive. This is the storm that precedes the champion or the championing of the laurels won, or the best idea being generated, your idea, or the right project coming into fruition. Appreciate your peers for the conflict and competition that they're providing, but win that contract. Get that one and only raise that's on offer. Make sure it's your idea, your team, your company that's going to take home that trophy. So what if the Five of Wands reversed presents itself to you? In this position, the Five of Wands usually speaks of lust and desire being inflamed into harmful characteristics, right? They're out of control now. This is violence. This is aggressive violence seeking out its own ends. The Five of Wands reversed does not care how many eggs it breaks to get an omelet made. It doesn't care if it and everyone starve afterwards, as long as it gets its own way right now at any cost, which of course is unhelpful, dangerous, and frankly terrifying in its lack of balance and wisdom. This is the energies of argument and strife blown up into being massive and energetically wasteful, right? The person engaging in this violence and these battles, they're wasting a ton of energy, but that's not slowing them down here. Rashness and cruelty present themselves in the Five of Wands reversed, right? This person, whether it's you or another, this is mean and violent. This is a nasty, bloody war. A really ugly battle that's being fought. Maybe you just happen to be caught up in it. Oddly enough, I've heard modern tarot readers discuss the Five of Wands reversed as being a card that shows an individual turning away kindly from a fight or retreating from interaction with others. Okay, the Five of Wands reversed is not that. It really isn't that. It never has been. All of the wands, especially the deacons, are very active cards in any reading from any deck. They always have been. So that's a very strange and ill-informed interpretation. It's going to create imbalances. And I think it has more to do with people catering to an audience that might not want to deal with what's really being expressed in the story of the soul's journey. Sort of a what a too kind tarot reader will offer as an interpretation, more for thinking that they're helpfully counseling, right, the frightened person, than adequately expressing the truth of the cards themselves, the lessons invoked. But some truths are hard, right? This is a battle card. Some lessons are difficult. Some parts of the soul's journey are dark. And avoiding that by inaccurately passing on Five of Wands reversed just means go back to your office. Let everyone else win. Just go calm down somewhere. Right? That isn't a good or valid reading of this card. This is not one of the paths being suggested in the Five of Wands reversed at all. But there seem to be just an endless line of those giving readings that are afraid to interpret this card for what it really is. So they will muddy it up or outright lie in order to avoid telling the truth about it to the person, the querent they're reading for. Apparently, these readers, people who do this, think it's their place to make the judgment call on who can and can't handle the truth, or right, who can and can't handle accurate information about the Five of Wands as it's actually displayed. That's really disingenuous. Anyone who does that is behaving in a very inharmonious, very disingenuous way, right? And it's egoic, which magic is not. The tarot is also not about making up pretty stories and outright lying to people about the card's powers in order to try to control their future actions like you're doing them some sort of a favor, right? It's none of our jobs to try to dictate how other people behave or how they take the information given and apply it. Even just trying to take on responsibility for that is very ill-informed. That's very egoic, right? I see people do this with the tarot, like, this is what a card says, but I'm not going to tell this person that because then they're going to go apply it wrongly. I'm not going to tell them that it says fight back because then they're going to go get into a bad argument with someone, and I don't want that to be my fault. One, it isn't your fault, and two, that is not your choice to make. That's their journey. That's the querent's decision. Those are their lessons to be learned. If that is how they have to learn them, by applying information wrongly until they learn, then that is their soul's purpose, and you have no right to try to control it, right? Also, by nerfing certain cards as a tarot reader, you can actually do an incredible amount of harm and slow down someone's natural progression or make things more difficult for the person that you're reading for the querent, right? Confusing people with comforting half-truths or outright lies isn't a worthy practice for an occultist. I know I'm sort of going off on a little bit of a tangent here, maybe a big tangent, but the students who use this tarot card playlist for their daily meditations within the Neophyte and Zealotry grades of Enochian magics, they do need to be aware that this is one of those things that happens a lot. So here's one of the little secret lessons that's going to be hidden within another lesson in a playlist that you'd have to find, right? That this sort of thing happens, and more often than not with this card, with the Five of Wands reversed. When you decide to do readings for someone, you either do a reading or you don't. That is where your decision is being made. That is the action you're taking or not taking. That is what you're responsible for. You don't get to do a reading for someone and then pick and choose when to be accurate and when not to be because you want to make them be in a better mood, right? Or choose another card if you don't like the one that you got, or if they don't, or you don't want to tell them what the one they flip says, right? I hear poor readers, I don't want to call them charlatans. I think some people are just very confused or misinformed or haven't done the training to get to where they should be telling others how to read, right? But I hear, I'll call them poor readers, suggest that sort of thing all the time, and they'll frame it in a way that sounds very casual and rational, and it's disturbing. They will say things like, just pick another card for further clarity. You actually can't do that, right? Or just keep flipping new ones until you get something you like or something that makes sense to you. No, that isn't how the tarot works. If you flip a card you don't understand, that's still your card. Your task becomes to take the time and make the effort to understand it, right? You don't just get to pick another one that makes more sense to you. That's not how tarot works. That's not how life works. And you don't get to just keep flipping cards until you get something you like better either, right? Your job is to deal with what you don't like or deal with what you don't understand yet. That's magical progression. That's how tarot works. So if you fall into that trap or are advising, which is so much worse, that other people behave that way, please allow me to be the irritating mentor who refuses to cater to your BS. That isn't how the tarot works. You're deluding yourself. You're avoiding the lessons you need to learn. We all do it at some point, right? So be aware that if you're behaving that way, you're doing that. You're using the deck incorrectly, and you have yet to recognize your ego for what it actually is and how it's actually behaving. And the ego can be tricky. So bring your intention to it, right? Start to confront it and deal with it. So that's the lesson within the lesson here. The Five of Wands reversed never tells us to walk away. It doesn't tell us to go hide in our cubicle or go cool off and calm down or give up the fight or let other people argue and not care. It just doesn't say that. There are cards in the Soul Sacred story that do suggest that. The Five of Wands isn't one of them. The Five of Wands reversed is speaking of a brutal battle, a bloody war that's going on. You're neck deep in it. And what this card is saying is it's time to get rougher. It's time to get meaner. It's time to buckle down and own that sometimes you have to be bloodthirsty in order to overcome a bloodthirsty opponent. Which, by the way, tends to be the most important type of, opposition or opponent to succeed against in the greater scheme of things. That's the person you've got to bring down if you're given the chance to. Play dirty if you have to. That is what the Five of Wands reverse says. That's what it's advising. Do whatever you have to do. Maybe people don't like to hear that because it isn't soothing or comforting or in line with some unbalanced positivity only skewed bias, right, that they carry. But again, that isn't how magic works. That isn't how life works. That is not how the tarot or the universe or the pendulum of hermetics works. This idea of everything always being bright and shiny, happy, sweetness, softness, that is not the perfectly harmonized, rapturously wonderful and beautiful scale by which everything functions, right? So if you're caught up in that delusion, you are actually turning your back on the glorious reality of what balance is. For every yin, there is a yang, right? For every non-battle, there's a battle. For every positive charge in physics, there is also a negative charge. For every ride up a wave to a crest, there is a gloriously harmonized, perfect, equal valley created at that wave's base. The Five of Wands reverse does not advise bowing out of a fight ever. No matter how cuddly such a suggestion might make a querent feel, the Five of Wands reversed tells you to rip your opponent's heart out of their chest if necessary. If you don't, much, much worse may come of your inability to act. If you're engaged in a conflict head on and you just can't gain ground somehow, right? You're in this war and you're not getting anywhere. It's time to get duplicitous. It's time to fight dirty. Find a way to win. That is the Five of Wands reversed. Until next time.